paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, yeah, it's downright refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And
I
yes,
don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into Brainstorm Brewery. This is the show that just lost Jason's video for good, forever. Jason is now just a frozen picture. We're gonna
just an
run him.
MP3 floating in the wind. No, not a fourth dimension to be spoken of.
That's right.
An MP3, not an MP.
Yeah, well,
I died in Vegas. I'm haunting
this is the show that the three of us made it back from the desert, barely. I'll tell you that one day I walked out of my hotel room and I was like, this must be what it's like to have asthma. I just felt my throat close up as soon as I hit the Vegas air.
Vegas?
That is the opposite of Vegas. People would go to the Southwest because the air is
TV.
dry, and if they had like consumption or shit, the dry air helped them. I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you not
Also,
get
like, the weather was very reasonable in Vegas this time. Like, the main
Sure.
Vegas, the SCG
Yeah.
Con, death. Instant death. This one,
Sure.
like a chill 70 or 80 or something.
It was very warm. I had to wear pants every day and walk a mile. It was rough. Yeah.
You're from Oklahoma. You are the closest to the equator out of everybody on this podcast. I'm just wondering why you can't handle a little
It was
bit of
hot.
Vegas heat.
It sucked. I don't know what's so controversial about that statement. Do you not go to
The most
Vegas? And
controversial part about that statement is that you're starting a podcast talking about the fucking weather.
Buddy, I walked a mile to Tacos El Gordo in a full tracksuit. What are you talking about? Did I go to Vegas? What are you talking about, dude? I just wasn't about it. It was 30
90
when I left Michigan.
at home, and it was 90 there, and it sucked both places. And you all,
But, like, it's not worse. You're like, oh, I went from 90 to 90, out of the frying pan and into the different frying pan. Now I'm going to bitch about how hot the frying pan is, even though it's just my regular frying pan temperature.
You're boiling.
What the
You
fuck
don't
are you
even know
talking
you're
about?
boiling. You're the toad.
I am aware I'm boiling. It's mostly anger at your weird statement. What are you talking about, man? It
And
makes no
welcome into the
sense.
show, everybody. We're in our Foundations era, just like Magic.
Just
How
like
was
Taylor
Episode number
Swift.
600 something? Are we just getting
This is the
started?
eras to...
Are we just heating
I
up the
like-
podcast,
no,
setting the groundwork for the foundation of a long-term endeavor?
I like the eras. There is the I'm quitting because Lightning Bolt and Sarah Angel aren't in 5th edition era. There's the I don't like the Tolarian Academy. I'm going to quit because they banned a card that I paid money for era. The I don't like the 8th edition border. I f***ing quit era. The Slivers are back. This is bull era. The like I don't like Affinity. I'm quitting era. The I don't like Kamigawa. I'm quitting era. That we are in the SpongeBob SquarePants, I'm done era. And for the podcast, we felt like we were done for the last 2 years, so we are well
For
prepared
anybody who is
for the
looking to
SpongeBob
sell out of
Secret
Magic
Lair.
due to either Universes Beyond things or Standard Edition things, I will say that I'm ready to buy your cards.
I am a very satisfied customer of Doctor Who. This DJ buy all my inventory.
Look, we'll get to.
It was a good
we're gonna
process for me.
We're gonna get to all of that and more in this episode because a lot went down. Let's start with this. I was at the World Championship doing coverage where we got to watch Kai Buddha win his winning in for the top 8, which was an incredible moment on camera. We got to watch him play in the top 8. We got to see a Player of the Year playoff in the semifinals, essentially. And then Javier Dominguez becomes the second world champion to do it twice in Magic history after Shahar Shinhar. Poor Marcio lost his 3rd world championship final. So
I just love that while all that was happening, people were just like walking by and they were way more excited to like get a swamp signed by Ron Spears or get some fudge or like see a guy from the EDH Recast. I think that was incredible. There were some people watching World but like for the most
Well,
part,
I think you're framing it really.
It could have been in any convention, and people were just disregarding it. Was awesome.
What's awesome about that per se?
Because it's like it's such a big deal
Magic
for
is
like
not
the
a
Magic
spectator
community,
sport.
but then
Magic
like
is not good to
they
watch.
just- yeah, exactly. There's that, but like no, I mean the coverage just for the people at home. That's all like was watching this. But it's just funny, like it's like shooting a music video on a crowded street or something,
Yeah,
and people were just like going about their day. I thought, it
yeah.
was awesome.
Like the way I look at it is, it's awesome in the sense that Magic is so big and so many things that so many people that the players in the World Championship area don't know jack about the Commander stuff going on 100 feet away. They literally can't stand game nights being loud and messing with them. And then the people,
Well, see,
the
I'm,
people
I'm
on the
real
other,
sympathetic to
yeah.
that.
Well, and the people on the other end of it then don't know anything about it, but they know, they can walk by and go, oh wow, the World Championship, wow, $1 million prize pool, and maybe they sit and watch it for 5 minutes. On Sunday, they have the main stage with Riley Knight doing the broadcast for all the people there, hyping it up, doing crowd work, giving stuff away while watching the top 8 broadcast on site. So they really do a nice job, I think, of sort of cross-pollinating it. Like, it's not a bad thing because that's just how big Magic is now, is that it brought in all these other people who didn't know, and now these events are able to give you a great opportunity to kind of cross-pollinate. And that's...
I wouldn't like anybody watching me. I think that like that's a skill you got to develop. So it's like, yeah, you don't play in feature matches, so like of course you feel that way. But like, man, I would just
Yeah.
if I'm playing for a lot of money, I would be like, oh, just get the away from me. I can hear you breathing.
Well, I mean, it's so intense. I mean, everything's roped off, of course, so no one can get close to the players physically. But like, if you're in the feature match area, there's cameras around you.
Magic hasn't had a streaker yet. Like,
the
what is that? What is that rope?
The broadcast
barrier
is not
really gonna
live.
Stop when it comes to it. Like,
broadcast is not live. Hate to
Streaking is not considered a prank
to break
anymore.
it to
It's
you.
considered a sexual assault.
Yes, I hate to break it to you, but it is probably actually impossible to streak on the
just do
Perk
like
Board
a
broadcast.
Magic cosplay with a loincloth or something like that. There's a way to do it.
I mean,
I'm just asking.
I'm not
questions.
going to give ideas.
Corbin,
You got the
I'm
wheels
just asking
turning. I'm
questions.
not giving any ideas. Yeah.
I'm not streaking. I'm cosplaying as
Yeah.
the original Force of Will.
Well, that was how the event was for me. It was pretty amazing. DJ, what was it like from your end on the dealer side of
It was
it?
a very busy event. It was, I would say, the busiest event I have worked since the 2 years ago Vegas, the one that was in the random event hall of not the LVCC. The first Repop one, that was the
Mhm.
busiest Vegas I've ever worked. The one that people had all the complaints about, the Magic 31.
Well, that was too small, right? The venue
was too small, but it was still just busy. Like, it was still just 16 hours
Yeah.
of Magic in a day, just constantly. And this was the same thing. And our booth position was not even that good, but I mean, I got there at the event hall 8:30 in the morning, worked until midnight, did the same thing Saturday, and then worked until 7 on Sunday, and then took a red eye home, and that was it. And
I would say that if you picked a booth that was the farthest from every door, that was the booth they gave you. But it seemed like you were doing.
I mean,
a
it
lot
was
of
busy, but I
business.
think that is just a function of brand recognition and just people.
Yep.
It was brand recognition,
Posting
and
your
also
hot
just
list.
like people,
Well, and also
the sheer number of people that were in the room. It was like 5,000 people. Like,
there was enough to go. There were enough to go around. Like if the line was 2 hours at some place, they're going to go where they can go. I have a question, DJ, and you can just you don't have to. You can speak on it generally. You don't have to talk about yourself or anybody you've worked for. If you're somebody who has just a collection of Magic cards from the last few years, right? I'm not talking hot standard cards. I'm not talking high-end cards. I'm not talking even staples, right? Things that are showing up on a hot list. Just, I have a $6 Commander card, or I have a $4 Commander card. I see, so many people go to Vegas in particular, right? With just 2 1 rows full of this stuff, right? Are people getting good prices when they sell that stuff at a show? Or is it like, I don't, as good is obviously relative here, but like, would people be better served just simply inputting that into an online buy list than they are bringing that to in person? Because a lot of people I run into have the impression that they're going to do much better in person than they would otherwise. And I just wanted to pose that to you.
I think the best time spent to money made ratio that most Magic players are looking to get is to have a collection tracker list ready to sell in person. That it saves you your own time, the other vendor's time, and prepping that list a little bit in advance and just having a good idea of what you want to sell is going to save you a lot of time and make you more money. And also,
And you can use a scanner. You don't even need to
you can use the
manually
TCG
enter
Player
that
app.
stuff.
There are some cards.
I
Mana
like
Box
Mana
is
Box a
one that
lot
I have
for
heard a lot about
storage.
over the weekend, and I never heard of it before. I've heard about Moxfield, I've heard about Arctic, I've heard about like all these other websites that track your collection. This weekend was the first I'd heard about Mana Box, and I heard about it a lot. I dealt with a lot of files from it and had people email me like, oh, I taught them how to export it, and I learned how to convert a Mox or a Mana Box thing into a CSV file, which they would then email me, and I would run it through my set of tools. I don't know how many vendors have those tools available to use, but I know personally, and for a TOA, we can just, if you have some form of data set that utilizes TCG Player pricing, it will save you a lot of money and a lot of time. So like, or make you more money. So you'll be able to just skip the line, show the list, we quick verify it, and then you get paid. And that also just puts removes a lot of pressure from my position of like, it removes the error of like, or removes the possibility of me missing cards.
Well, and also like, so you walk by, right? And I'm not standing in line. I'm just walking by on my way to get a drink or the bathroom or whatever. And I see people with just literally $2,000-$3,000 or 1,000 cards, right? And I walked by one person and it looked just like random old bordered commons that are probably worth a few dollars each because they're old. And it's just like, dude, the person who's sitting there who's about to spend the next 4 hours buying this, first of all, oh my God, is that terrible? Like, oh, it seems horrible for them. But also, they're not gonna. You're not gonna get the same amount of money, right? Like, they're not.
They saw the people back in the day, and it was people selling a big, like, actual valuable collection. They made an appointment to be at the booth right when they opened because they're like, I want to sit down with one of your buyers because.
Well, it also used to be true. You could do better.
We're doing like a $25K deal, but like. People are like, oh, 25. I saw a guy with $5, so $5 must be cool, and they're bringing up
a little bit of framing here. The rough cost to be at Vegas is like $50,000 for somebody with an island booth. Labor, booth costs, etc. Just to be at Vegas, not to spend money, to like be there, like to physically just go there and be there.
Yep.
And the average expected amount of money I'm spending at a show should be around like $2,000 an hour in Vegas specifically. Like, if I am not spending $2,000 an hour with the seat across from me, then I am incentivized to like somehow make that seat available. And like, if the person just has like a binder full of sleeved cards that are like Corbin's saying, like, oh, I brought my commander binder and it's worth like maybe $800 or $900, and every card in it is sleeved, and I don't know what I want to sell, I will ask that person to move aside because we need to spend $2,000 an hour to be there, which sounds maybe pushy or bullying or insane, but like that is just the reality of the market of the situation, is that like we need to spend that money because it costs $2.50 a minute for me to like be paid to be here.
Yeah. Well, I had some,
and that's why.
Well, I had some locals specifically who just were like, they all just were like, we're dumping our stuff, and they were all just ticking off. I made $1,200. I made $800. I made $2,200. And it's like, I know what cards these people were selling, and they didn't have lists beforehand, and they didn't, like, they were just good stuff type cards, but they're not hot list cards, right? And my advice to them was like, I don't know that that's worth your time, you guys. Like, the vendors who have to pay so much money to be there, and like people were talking about this at the SCG Regional Championship of just like not feeling like prices were great. It just feels like that's an easier way to do it. And at least if you scan it up, like DJ said, you know what you're getting. Because to me, that's the biggest problem with taking your binder of cards in there and just doing that is you have no idea if there's a $6 card in your binder that's some cool, neat new commander card that like Card Kingdom's going to pay you $4 on, and then you get $1.50 on it at the show because it's just some
the
random
situation is I won't buy it. Like there might be some cards that they did spike to $8 something because they make so many commander sets a year, and but even if it didn't spike, right? There's a line there where it's like the not buy it. Well, I'll buy it at this price, even
right?
then, like,
and then they just they have no idea.
Too valuable. Like, and I can't know.
Sure, I
card.
understand,
I can't
but
know,
but like from the
so DJ
Clever Concealment is like a great example of this card from Commander Crimson Vow, I think, where it's like an $8 to $12 buy list card that nobody ever knows is worth something. And there's a lot of buyers just in the industry who, if they're flipping through a binder, and again, flipping through a binder is the worst way to sell a collection. Like those vendors might just pass on the card because they don't know that it is a card, and like you're losing out on the potential money made. Not because the vendor is trying to like get you and put it in the bulk bid, but because like there's just too many $8 to $10 cards nowadays that were either short printed or in demand.
Right.
That were $1 2 weeks ago. The last time you looked at cards.
And even if they look it up real quick, right, and they go, yeah, I'll buy it for this. That whatever number you're getting from that is likely less than the number of a dedicated shopping a buy list online. But so I guess the answer there, thank you, DJ, is like at the very least, people scan your collections before you do that, so that if you walk in with a box of cards you've scanned to be $1,000 and someone offers you $400 for it, you at least know what you're doing and know that someone else might be able to offer you $500 for it, right? And you're denying yourself that opportunity.
What else should people always do before they sit down across from you, DJ? What else should they do?
Yeah, there was one podcast listener who sat across from me who did not de-sleeve their cards, who will know who they are. Yeah, de-sleeving cards. I think that one of the biggest things is just know what you want to sell beforehand. And like having a box of cards is great, but then deciding like, oh, I don't know if I want to sell this, or going through piles at the end just makes it worse for everyone. And if you want to keep cards, if you know what you're keeping, I'm not trying to use car salesman your entire collection out of you, but just knowing what you want to get and knowing what your expectations are the two biggest things. Because if you have this
well, that's why people take cards out of the piles. They're like, well, for 50 cents, I might as well keep this. It's not, I want to keep this card I never wanted to sell. It's like, I sure thought I was getting a buck on this.
That leads into the knowing your expectations.
That's why that happens.
This set expectation of like, just knowing what you want to keep. And because there's so many Magic cards nowadays, and it is impossible for the professional buyer to know every single price, which means it's doubly impossible for the average Magic player to know every single price. And like, even if you don't have a full data set, just having a box of cards with a rough idea of like, I want to get rid of everything in this, and having a rough expectation of like $500 or $600, because then if somebody offers you $300, then like, even if you're like, if you decline to sell at that point, then we can at least live at peace knowing that they're wrong. Like that they just wanted 100% of TCG market, and that transaction was never going to happen anyway. Which I had several people like. All
right, well there you go.
I had this conversation of what is your expectation here? What are you looking for? And some people just answered retail, and it's just okay, man. Like wrong place. Go back to your eBay store.
Okay.
Yeah, like
that's honest. Yeah. You're on the wrong side of the booth, amigo. We get intern over.
If somebody sends you a list that totals out to TCG player $1,000, is the amount they get so dependent on what is inside the cards to make that up that it's impossible to give an estimate of a percentage?
It's fairly accurate. So the average you should expect to get from either me or the booth that I work for is around 70% of TCG low. If you have a data set, and almost all data sets provided to us work. They're usually fine. Like you said, they're
because you can convert
cards from the past few years, slight mix of foil and non-foil, no egregious heavily played stuff. It's mostly that, and we just quick check the list for outliers that make the data bad, and we're never going to like nitpick and nickel and dime the list for really low value stuff.
Because you're trying to save your own
key factor
time.
Here is time, and so like if there's one moderately played Steam Vents or one Japanese Ikoria Trio,
Who cares?
That is not going to move the needle on anything. We're really just looking for, is this data set good? Is there like a weird beta card in here that's really skewing like the number, or is there like some 7th edition foil that's really putting its foot on the scale? Like, or sometimes, and we do get these bad actors every now and again, is somebody would walk up with like 3 cards from Mystery Booster 2, and they said, hey, I have a tracker list, I want 72% of low of that. Like, that's not how this works, because Mystery Booster 2 cards are new and have bad data. Like, we're buying Mystery Booster 2 Sensei's Top for $10, Future Sight version, and, like, God knows what we're going to sell it at 4 months from now, because the market on these is just so crazy. Who knows how much Mystery Booster 2 is going to come out? Like, who knows what the velocity on these will be, if there will be demand for these particular kinds of cards. And so, like, TCG low is like $25 or something like that, and somebody's expecting 70% of that on like 2 cards. Like, you're being a bad actor and just interpreting the data poorly intentionally. And so we will say no to that collection tracker list, because that's not what the tool is designed to do.
Yeah. Which card is that you were talking about? Sensei's Divining Top?
I believe it was a Sensei's Top that somebody brought up.
So to like expound on DJ's point there, I'm looking at the Card Kingdom buy list, and that card's not on there at all.
Yeah,
for the exact same
cards with
reasons.
bad data are just not going to
That
be
DJ's
conducive for this thing, and it's really easy to tell who is a bad actor. And like, oh, whoops, I put the Strixhaven etched foil in instead of the non-etched one. Okay, we're just gonna check. Are the prices close? Are they fine? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Because I've had people ask me, hey, do I have to make sure every single card matches this perfectly? And the answer is no. Most cards, like Craterhoof Behemoth MM17 versus Avacyn Restored, I don't care if the TCG app got it wrong, but like Polluted Delta MH3 versus Polluted Delta Onslaught, much bigger conversation. So we just spot check the list, make sure all the cards are there, make sure they're within the standard deviation of being correct, and it saves everybody so much time. We have the tools and technology to do this nowadays. It is just in everyone's best interest, if you're looking to sell or even trade, like just have if you have a budget or a specific Moby Dick you're looking for, of like, oh, I really want this old like Grim Monolith foil for my CEDH deck, and I'm gonna go to Vegas, I'm gonna get a Grim Monolith. Have that trade list ready. Say like, these are all the cards I have. They add to around 3,000 TCG low. I would like a foil Grim Monolith, and vendors will be, or a smart vendor will be more than happy to take the margin hit.
Is that how much a foil Grim Monolith is worth?
If somebody brings like a $3,000 collection tracker list, there's probably a foil Grim Monolith for like 25.
I got one of those. Go me.
But like the point is that like, if you save that vendor time, they should be incentivized to lose a little bit of margin to free up the buy seat. The original question is like, are you getting good vendor prices at these shows? Because pre-COVID era, there's these hot lists where people are paying over retail for Scalding Tarn or over retail for Ren and 6 because there's crazy arbitrage going on. Yes, I would say you can still get very, very good numbers at shows, especially on hot list cards, because arbitrage is still a thing. But in terms of like a wider breadth of cards, if you have a larger collection, putting that small amount of work into just like maybe a half hour or something to scan all your cards in, or literally pay for the $10 in Wi-Fi on the plane if your plane doesn't have free Wi-Fi. Like, just pay for the Wi-Fi on the plane, put the cards in the tracker list while you're watching your anime, and then you have your list when you get to Vegas. Like, you just skim through your deck box, pull out the cards, do the work, and then you save yourself so much time and make so much more money. I think that is the best happy medium for most Magic players, is just like, make the tracker list. If you're the person that wants 85 or 90% of TCG low, then sell your cards on TCG Store. Or
put it on Cardsphere.
Jason, are you a get Wi-Fi on the airplane kind of guy?
I wasn't this time because I had to get up at too early. So,
you're not, but like, are you philosophically opposed to spending money on Wi-Fi on an airplane because it's $30 or whatever?
Yeah, and it's like,
I'm just curious.
What, to look at Twitter, like it's good that I have like 4 hours a day where I'm not allowed to
fly
be
Delta
on
exclusively because
that's
have
good.
One time,
now kind of person.
Oh, that's pretty sick. One time when I was running Channel Fireball, I was flying back from the Pro Tour in Barcelona, and I was like, I'm buying airplane Wi-Fi. it's a business expense. I'm going to put up all the articles on the website today from airplane Wi-Fi. I get on the plane in Spain, and the first thing they announce is our Wi-Fi is down once we get up in the air. Like, our Wi-Fi seems to be down. There will be no internet. So now I'm on a 9-hour flight with no way to even contact anyone at Channel Fireball to let them know that I'm
You're
not
just
going to be
living
able
an
to
old Louis
done.
C.K. bit right now.
Yeah,
There's
when I
that
got
old
off that
Louis
plane,
C.K.
that
joke
was a
about
day.
like the first plane to ever get Wi-Fi, and the guy sitting next to him is like, "This is fucking bullshit," and it's like,
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you fly through the air? Like a bird, like a miracle? Did you get in the aisle and say no one gets off this plane till somebody jerks me? Did you do that?
I'm not gonna lie. I don't hate the flying experience these days, though. Like, I was just flipping back and forth between Monday Night Football and the World Series last night, and that wasn't so bad, in first class, just hanging out.
So I was on a Boeing, and apparently the plane was so small that it was tilting back and wasn't lined up with the tunnel, and they're like, we need everybody to move to the front of the plane or we can't get the door open. And I was like, this is a Boeing. Like, won't the door just open itself? Like, since when is it hard for a Boeing door to open?
Yeah. So anyway, it was that was it. So all right, now let's dig into the meat of what happened in Las Vegas. The Foundation's announcements, the Universes Beyond announcements. Just going to give you the news. Moving forward in 2025, there will be 6 mainline sets a year. 3 of those sets will be, quote, quintessential Magic intellectual property, end quote. The other half will be Universes Beyond. All of them will be entering Standard, which is going to have a 3-year rotation, as we know. That's what we've been at. However, that rotation, starting in 2027, will move to the calendar year as opposed from the fall to fall, the school year, if you will. The result of all of this is that now Universes Beyond sets will have the exact same legality as every other set. They are fully Magic. That means that the people who buy the Universes Beyond sets will be able to bridge directly and immediately into Standard, not just Commander, or as many of them were basically getting forced to, CEDH, if they wanted to play tournaments with their cards. So that is what's happening. Marvel is coming as part of this next year. There's a ton of Marvel cards. They're going to be Standard legal, a part of Magic. Foundations itself is the new core set. It's going to be legal for the next 5 years with reprints. They showed off a bunch of, honestly, what I think are pretty neat cards from that. But it's important to remember now, Land of War Elves and Ball Lightning are going to be legal alongside, in Standard, Storm and Wolverine.
good. Almost
I thought that
all
might be
good
the response
announcements.
here. I thought so. Jason, what do you think?
What do I think about what?
Any of that.
The future?
Yeah, well, like, does this make you sad? Does this make you angry?
Who gives a what I think, man? At the end of the day, people who were going to buy this stuff will need how to learn how to play EDH, and it's my job to teach them. So at a certain point, I don't f***ing care if it's SpongeBob that gets you into Magic. If you want to build a commander deck, it's my job to make sure that all the internet resources we have are dedicated to helping you build your deck for as long as you play Magic. And I really think that hearing from like serious competitive tournament players that like Magic is becoming dumb with all this stuff to attract commander players and all this bullshit, spend some money, right? If you spent some money, we wouldn't have Universes Beyond. But when we have Universes Beyond, people spend more money. And the toy company that can't seem to figure out how to get people to buy toys 2 months before Christmas will have a good quarter. Because that's all that matters. Did Hasbro have a good quarter? If not, squeeze the Magic orange harder. Get more juice out of it. So, you know what? If other people are getting squeezed for a while, good, man. Because they were like, oh, we haven't monetized the whales enough. And they were just putting the screws to the whales for a couple of years. But then UB came along and they figured out how to like get people who don't play Magic to buy Magic cards. And guess the But I don't have to buy as much anymore. So as much as I'm stressed out that there's too many products,
They also
they don't need me to buy
one
them.
of these announcements was also yes, there are 6 standard sets, which is more than the past, but those 6 standard sets are like the only thing. So that they are like dialing back on the amount of
There will be some.
They listen.
There will be
Yeah.
some other products. Of course, they said we'll still occasionally do Master sets or Horizon sets. They also, it's important to understand that Universes Beyond and Secret Lairs.
Didn't they announce Pioneer Masters?
I believe so. Yes, certainly for Arena. And the idea, another announcement worked in there is that Arena's Pioneer, what's called Explorer, will be 99% fully Pioneer by next year, right? End of next year.
What about this? Pauper Masters.
Yeah. So that's gonna be
$200 a box, 15 uncommons and per pack. It'd be sick.
they'd
15
have to
commons,
upshift them to you'd have and the old original Magic printing days where you had different levels of uncommons. You know, like this is a U2.
Yeah, this is a
U3,
U3
yeah.
and this is a U1.
That'd be great. It's important to remember now, like to understand this for people who may have not really paid attention to this part of it. Universes Beyond and Secret Lairs are different things. That line had been really blurred because obviously most of the Universes Beyond that they did were part of the Secret Lair product line, with the exception of, say, like Lord of the Rings or whatever, right? But
and Assassin's Creed
and Fallout, right? So
all you need to remember is there will be no SpongeBob at FNM, right?
So that's the point here, right? So everyone immediately started memeing on SpongeBob with this. Now, were I planning this on Wizards? Would I have put the
SpongeBob
Would I have put this
on the internet?
Would I have put the SpongeBob announcement on the same day that we announced Universes Beyond was going to be in standard? No, I might have spaced those particular announcements out a little bit and rolled with all the Marvel stuff we were previewing, but that's part of the problem with it being different product lines, I would imagine, is that it all functions differently by their own teams. But that is the important thing to remember here, that a Secret Lair does not mean it's in standard now. Universes Beyond will be in standard, but not all of them.
Universes Beyond SpongeBob SquarePants, February 2026. That is what will put SpongeBob at FNM. The standard legal 325 card set with the SpongeBob Planeswalker.
Not there yet.
And everything.
Not there yet.
Mr. Krabs, greatest thief in the multiverse.
Also,
maybe?
I'll also add this note. People are talking about how big standard's going to be from this, and I actually think there's a really valid thing there, that 6 sets a year for standard is really actually going to change a lot about it. And we'll see if that's good or bad, but that's what's going to happen. From that angle, fuck, I forgot what I was going to say otherwise.
Do you think having to change your FNM deck every 2 months is going to be something people enjoy, or no?
I don't think that. So the flip side of having more sets in standard is that fewer cards from each set are going to be impactful, and each subsequent release into standard actually has factually a lower impact in terms of metagame shift, simply due to the dilution of the card pool. That is not talking about card prices.
At the booth over the weekend during one of the very, very few breaks we had, like towards 11 or 12 at night or something like that. But one of the expectations I think we can set is that it will become more akin to Yu-Gi-Oh's metagame shifts, where Yu-Gi-Oh will release entire archetypes at once, and the card design, the mechanics are more parasitic, akin to Impact or Energy, where you buy the Final Fantasy air quotes deck, or you buy the Assassin's Creed deck, and all of your cards work really well together within that framework as an onboarding tool of, oh, you don't need to buy the Sultai control deck that is like 18 different working parts and is much harder to conceptualize and build. You just need to have 4 of this thing and 4 of this thing and 4 of this thing, and they all kind of have the same framework and synergy together, and that is similar to how Yu-Gi-Oh does it, where new archetypes are very easy to make old ones obsolete, and it's you build your 20 card staples and your 20 card archetype, and you put them together and you're good to go. Whether that's good or bad is certainly up for debate depending on what your play preferences are, but shrug.
It's also how Magic used to be more when we had blocks. Because when I got into the game in the Lorwyn era, The entire fairies deck came out of 2 sets, guys. Like
that, I mean,
half of
there
it was out of
some
morning,
level of
right?
blowback to that.
And listen, correct. That's what I'm saying. Is there was blowback to that the idea of Wizards force feeding us archetypes by just stapling a creature type onto all the different cards so that it became too handholdy, right? That was a complaint. The flip side of that, if you look at Standard from the past 3 or 4 years, the World Championship, especially, I think we had 3 years in a row where like
It's
the most
just good card
popular
soup.
/ best deck of the World Championship, it was Grixis Esper Good Card Soup with the same stuff, right? It was either Rafine and Wedding Announcement, or it was the Corpse Appraiser packages with all the Grixis stuff, right? Every single deck was just mid-range soup, and there was nothing resonant about any of it. Now, fast forward to where we're at today, we just had an incredible top 8 where you have an actual like slide deck, like a mono red playing 4 shocks slide deck top 8. You had Dimir Demons, which has the Demons synergies that make it different from the other Dimir decks.
Which is it's a Splinter Twin.
You
deck.
had
It's a combo deck.
actual like combo decks. Yeah, there were actual combo decks too, like with Team or Prowess, and then there was like a couple mid-range flares. So also then there was the other Prowess deck that has like the Manifold Mice, and a lot of those cards come from Bloomborough. Whole bunch of it. There's also the Blue-White Eerie deck where 80% of the deck comes from Duskmourn. And the idea I think that Wizards is getting at is that we actually probably can, instead of just making random cards and seeing how they all end up working together, let's actually try to build decks within these sets we're releasing. So that if someone wants to play a mice deck because they really like Bloomborough, let's try to give them the tools to at least theoretically be able to compete with the person who builds their Wolverine deck because they really like Marvel in the next set. And then you go to F&M and you can be playing Bloomborough Mice versus Storm X-Men, right? Like, I do think that's what they're trying to get at. And we used to have more of that with Block when there were more synergistic decks as opposed to good stuff decks. And you mentioned it as like a Yu-Gi-Oh model. And yeah, I think that the idea is that there's going to be lots of different like chunks of cards put together rather than just good stuff, because they're going to be more intentional about that. That's my belief and hope because Standard was amazing for the past 6 months or so. And this, since we had rotation again for the first time, not only did all the players of the World Championship, like every single major team of the World Championship came with a different deck. We had 6 different archetypes in the top 8. Really 7 if you depending on how you break up one of them between ramp and mid-range. So I don't know. And they loved the gameplay as well. So I got to say that Magic's in a good spot with this stuff, with Universes Beyond coming in. I really think Standard's going to pop off. And I think that it's going to be like, I think this is the next thing, right? The Commander is never going anywhere, but I think that this is going to be the next thing.
I fully support Huey's taking the reins of competitive Magic as of the past. I don't know how far back his decision making goes and how many like decisions have come to fruition from his new position, but like from what I've seen, full support, fully enjoying the reign of Huey.
Well, yeah, and it's going to make, I mean, it's simple. We're going to talk about more about Standard finance again. Things like land cycles matter, right? The verges from Duskmourn, things like that. Okay, well, that's that. I guess moving forward, this is the new world we live in. So, Universes Beyond is Magic. Magic is Universes Beyond. I will add that I think that the worst genre of content creator is content creator who so clearly hates the game they make content for, but is too financially tied to it to move on. I saw a lot of that.
Just say my name. I'm right here.
I saw a lot of it over the weekend, and it really does yuck the yum of everyone trying to enjoy it.
Recreationally offended.
Maybe, but the thing is, if you're recreationally offended, at least like people, like you're doing it for the content. People, like, it's whatever. We can all dislike it, but maybe they actually still like it, right? The people who are just so clearly beyond where Magic is now, but just can't get away from it. I guess that's probably not actually a very fun spot to be in. I empathize with that, but it does. There were just such extreme reactions from both sides. Well, I suppose from one side over the weekend here. Okay, that is all about Vegas. Before we get out of here this week, though, we do want to leave you with our segments as we do because, hey, you guys like breaking bulk.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, breaking bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
As a reminder, it's brought to you by MTGstocks.com, the #1 resource for your Magic financial information on the internet. It's what we use every week. It's what I was looking at on my plane back to try to catch up on what happened from the Pro Tour.
This podcast is also sponsored by buying airplane Wi-Fi to look at MTG stocks. Buy your airplane Wi-Fi.
Boingo, sponsor us, please. All right, Jason, we'll let you kick things off. How are you feeling on Breaking Bulk this week? What are you looking at?
I'm looking at a red uncommon from Commander Legends.
Oh, God. Was that the first printing of it?
Yeah, it's the only printing of it.
I have no idea.
Which is why you should be bulking these out, despite it being just a regular, basic-looking uncommon card.
It's not...
It's a creature.
This is a good one.
I don't know the set, man. I'm confident I'm going to stump you with mine, but you are stumping me as well.
Well, I hope you haven't discounted this because you think it's too expensive. Because I literally,
I don't know what's in that set, man.
No hitter.
All right. It is a partner.
The little zero mana.
Rograph.
That's right. Kedis,
Yeah, that's the one I named.
Emberclaw Familiar. The 1/1 for 2 mana. When a commander you control deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. Every time somebody plays this, they're like, wait, it does what? When you hit somebody, you hit everybody. Kedis shaves probably 3 turns off a game of Magic the Gathering. And these are $4, like, minimum. And they are in bulk.
Wait, so let's break that down. If playing this card saves 3 minutes, and you're hourly for a commander...
No, 3 turns.
Okay, so like an hour. So Kedis shaves like an hour off a game of Commander, and say your hourly is like $25 to $30 an hour. So buying this card at $4 and playing it and saving an hour is going to get you like a 10x multiplier just by itself. That's just math, baby.
Yeah, the quicker a game of Magic goes, the more games you can work at which is why
the more games you play with this card, the more hours you can put into your job, which means that this card is making you money.
It's making you money. I played a lot of games with Red Death, the little goad crab. You should be goading more in EDH. Just goad. Yeah. Make people punch each other. Otherwise, you're just going to have a big wall of creatures. Make them kill each other.
Yeah. I have a Rainy deck, or Ronnie, however you say it, from Doctor Who, that puts a mark of the Ronnie on creatures, which makes them permanently goaded. And it's just a sweet little Grixis goad deck. One of the most fun ways I've ever
let them hit each other.
I was at CubeCon last week before Vegas, and I played a Jurassic Park Wizards Tower cube, which is like a 6-person single deck experience. It's kind of Dan-esque, but it's multiplayer.
It does sound like an experience.
It was a Jurassic Park, so every creature in the pile was either a human or a dinosaur, or had some way to fight them. And Alexios, something of whatever from Assassin's Creed. That card
from Assassin's Creed, baby,
card is not okay.
It hits every turn.
Let me tell you.
How many times has that card been one of our breaking bulks on this show?
Yeah, I put that in a commander deck, and it is unhinged. People read it one time, and then they read it about 3 more times, and now it's dealt 20 damage to the table in 2 minutes. It's an absurd card. For people who don't know, it comes into play, and then every single turn, basically the player whose turn it is gets control of it. It gets a counter, and I think it has
it has trample.
Can't be sacrificed, and it has trample, haste that
not its own, but
has to attack. Owner. It's insanity. Yeah, but can't attack its
part
owner.
Part of it is people are like, you don't have any blockers, but it was just 2 damage, and I don't want to be I don't want to draw heat for being the first one to attack. But if you force somebody to attack, they're not mad at the person that attacked or the person that goaded. They're just like, oh, well, everybody did
person
what
to
they
your-
had
yeah.
to do in that scenario. And for whatever reason, it just
If the
breaks
person to your
seal.
right,
The first person to deal some damage, everyone kind of gets comfortable attacking each other.
yeah,
So just be the first person to make somebody deal somebody some damage.
bro. If the person to your right just like board wipes or something, and then you play Alexios, the person who just played a Wrath of God is about to take
From everybody.
25 damage.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like before they're going to play a Wrath of God and take
All right.
20 before they untap.
All right,
Like,
what do you got?
go ahead, DJ. Oh, all right. I'll hop in here. I'm actually heading to the past.
That's also what Assassin's Creed is
A
about.
universe-
You're not going to name a
Not
card that
so-
hasn't come out yet, Corbin? You're going to name a card that's already come out?
Corbin, Assassin's Creed is about going to the past. That's what the whole series is about.
That's what I'm doing. It's an Assassin's Creed card. It's a Boros
I picked this
uncommon.
like a while ago, like a month or two ago.
Did you?
Maybe. But do you know what it is?
It's like something with auras and equipment in its text box. It's like a 2-mana 3/2 or something.
Is
Well,
it a
I did say
creature or is
Boros.
it
No,
a
it's a
not
creature.
creature?
He's a
No, I mean DJ's got it. It's a creature. It's a 2-mana
I
2/2.
don't
He
need
just
to.
doesn't know the names.
A 2-mana 2/2? Is there a 2-mana Boros 2/2? I was
Yes.
thinking it was Cassandra.
yeah.
It's
what does the
Bureau
spreadsheet say? When did I
Headmaster.
pick this?
It's a
Because this only comes in the starter kits, is why. It might
no.
be a
It's
pick
not a
of the week.
breaking bulk for DJ. Okay.
It's almost certainly a pick of the week.
It was a pick of the week in July.
Okay.
No,
This
I'm
thing's
sorry,
a buck
June.
on TC or on Card Kingdom, but it's pretty affordable elsewhere.
Yeah, it's just a 75 cents card. It's
Yeah.
a breaking bulk
Hmm.
for now. It's a nice one though.
It has two
as
very
DJ
good
said,
abilities.
it makes your equipment. Yeah, your equipment costs one less, and your equips
Yeah, this
cost
card's
one
only
less.
in the
It's funny.
starter
I picked mine on the basis of Captain Avenger First America. Captain Avenger First America decks want to run this, so that's actually where I picked Kedis as
Captain
well.
America first.
Captain America First. Jesus. Everybody's gonna pay Commander Tariff
Also known as Homelander.
to keep you from these other commanders coming in here. These black creatures eating our cat tokens and our dog tokens. We gotta prevent them.
All right, I have a black card that is from Darksteel and has no other printings. No. I don't know.
Dross.
There's like 18 cards with the word Dross in.
It's a what?
Yep.
It's a black uncommon from Darksteel.
Black uncommon.
I think Jason
From
could
what
get
set?
this. Darksteel.
From what
Darksteel.
set? Dark Steel.
Dark
it's from
Steel.
Shield, a black uncommon from
Correct.
Shield thing.
No other reprints. This card has never been.
Oh
reprinted.
god, there's so many weird things.
There is a reason for
I
it to
agree.
have spiked like within the past few months. No. What?
Soul Spike.
No, that's not even.
On June of this year, or no, sorry, June of last year, this card was 25 cents, and now this card is $4. It's only from Darksteel,
Is
no
it-
reprints.
Not Valgavoth?
No, that this card was $4 in like March of this year too. So like it spiked a year ago, roughly.
Jeez. I actually don't know. Flesh something? Decayed
Flesh
flesh or
Forger.
something like that?
It is called Screams from Within.
Oh, yeah.
It is a
no.
heard
black
of it,
enchant
yeah.
creature. Enchanted creature gets -1/-1. When enchanted creature dies, Screams from Within comes back onto something else. So this is technically a 3-mana board wipe for
Oh, that's
for
a
1/1 tokens.
fun.
You can technically clear an
Yeah.
entire board of X1s with this. It's also very good with Maha from Bloomborough. It's good with Ariette of the Charmed Apple from Wilds of Eldraine, or Ariette the Beguiler. It's pretty good with like Massacre Girl. And also, I realized as I was looking at this, I thought the reason it spiked was for Eerie, like the Eerie mechanic in Duskmourn, where you're just entering an enchantment over and over and over and over again. But this card did spike before that,
Mhm.
so shrug. But yeah, it's a Darksteel uncommon.
Well, what? Toxrill?
Toxrill
Might have been Toxrill, might have been
was, like, 2 years
Maha.
ago though, but I thought it might have been Maha, but it spiked in like January of 2024. So
Then that would have been Ariette of the
that's
Charmed
what I was
Apple.
thinking. So, but the card doesn't seem like amazing in
No, that's definitely Ariat because it's one of the enchantments that comes back when it falls off. People were looking for that kind of stuff because Ariat wants you to put auras on their creatures. This is an Ariat spike for sure. But like the fact that it is non-trivial and Ariat the Beguiler and Maha its Feathers Knight, which came after, means it's just gonna continue to be a card people know about and love the dooming shit with.
Eldraine came out in September of 2023.
Okay, and so that timeline kind of works out then.
Yeah, the card is
because it took a couple months for the spare copy, the loose copies.
Yeah, the card is very, very rare. It's a dark steel uncommon with no reprints. It seems a little weird to reprint, and of course the Wizards timeline for reprinting this is delayed. So if they suddenly realize they want to reprint this card, you won't see it for another.
They will give it new art because the old art has some side boob on it.
Sure, but it'll take at least a year or two for this card to get reprinted, unless it's just happens to be getting hit. So this is just another card to be on your watch list for if you have old Darksteel bulk that you have gone through over and over and over again, you can pull these out now as well. Because again, a year ago this card was like 20 cents.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, because we're all about the segments tonight, we went ahead deep on the Vegas stuff early. Let's finish with some picks of the week.
Pick of the week. Pick of the week. Pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
My pick of the week this week is pre-war formal wear. I actually went and looked at our sheet because we've talked about this card a lot, but no one's ever picked it.
Because we
and
thought it
has
already went up,
climbed
but apparently it's still like under a buck.
Well, it did, but it's not done. Well, it's like $2 right now. It's gone up over the past week. It is going further though. Like this is the big jump. We saw it move before from bulk rare up to $1.50, $2, and now it's going further. I mean, this is going to be a $5 card very sooner rather than later.
Actually, Corbin, this is a good pick because this is a great time to mention that this was a weekly winner on the MTGstocks Weekly Winners Roundup. MTGstocks, our sponsor of this podcast, your source for MTG news, price movements, tools, data, and Corbin's picks of the week, like 4 or 5 days before he says them. So if you are not, checking out the Weekly Winners article and the other articles written by the fantastic authors over at MTGstocks, definitely check that stuff out. You can look like a Corbin Hostler too.
Didn't you just say it was under $1? Okay, it's not been for weeks. Just so we're clear on who's getting their information in a timely manner, I wanted to put this one out there because it's going to be
It
much
did
more
go
than that.
up, and it went up a long time ago when Cass mentioned it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I was surprised it hadn't been a pick because we talk about it constantly. So I'll take the W because it's not done going up.
There's a lot of Fallout that seems like it's not done going up. Like people are still finding stuff they're like, oh, this is absolutely absurd in other formats. So
yeah, and all these
Fallout
secret layer things like that. And I mean, Fallout now is getting to be pretty far out.
Like so expensive.
Yep.
I wish I'd not opened mine. Should have bought singles.
Jason, what are you looking at this week?
Well, on the basis of Captain America also, I think Mjolnir Stormhammer has some growing up to do in price. It's the same rarity as Excalibur, but it didn't go up yet. But the cool thing about Mjolnir is it equips for free, and you deal damage to every player. So it's not as splashy and smashy as the, Captain America's Excalibur, or whatever he's going to be chucking at people. But Mjolnir is good outside of Captain America decks as well. Anything that equips for free and damages people on the basis of, like, how well you did tapping their creatures down, which you can do with various equipment and just, I don't know. Mjolnir's cool, man. It's Thor's hammer. And Captain America canonically used Thor's hammer in the movie, so this isn't even like... Since we're Funko Pops now, recreating that scene with your magic cards is the thing you could do. So there you go.
Yeah.
Well done. All right. DJ,
this
wrap
card
it
was
up.
originally printed in Jumpstart, and it got a reprint in
Yikes.
MH3 and Commander Lost Caverns and Fallout. So it was a very expensive card. It was like $25, $30, and then it just got hit again and again and again over the past year, and now it's $3. I'm talking about Branching Evolution. It is half of Doubling Season, and Doubling Season just got announced to have a reprint in Foundations. This is the
It
other
did.
half. So if you don't
That's
care
right.
about tokens and you only care about +1 counters, this is where you want to be. And history has shown this card is $25able, and it just got a lot added to the supply. So I mean, maybe they've kicked it to the ground enough times this year and are done with it. Maybe not, but if this continues to avoid
The
reprints,
problem with
because
this-
it's got 3, I
Yeah.
can see this creeping back up, and it's got a couple fancy versions in the Fallout set. It's got some weird nonsense art. But yeah,
Okay, I'm ready. I'm going to premiere a new take based on this card, DJ. I think that, first of all, you're completely right about doubling season, and people get their hands on doubling season. They're more likely to finally build their doubling season deck, which means they're going to buy this. Makes it a great pick. Risk of reprint based on genericness
I
of name.
don't know how much names matter anymore for reprints. Like, I think that
I hear no, but they do, because something like branching evolution can be applied to about 4 different franchises they're going to do Universes Beyond with.
so do like 8 other synonyms for branching evolution. Like, Magic has 1 million cards with this same name, air quotes.
I'm just saying. It's a new
85
take. It's a new
bird
take.
spells
If this
that
was
all have
named
the same
after,
name under the thesaurus, like,
I know, but look, if this was named after a particular person on Lost Caverns of Ixalan, it's not going to show up in a Fallout deck, right? If this is named after Inti, if instead of being called Branching Evolution, it's called Inti's Branching Evolution, and it's tied to Lost Caverns of Ixalan,
yes, it would.
it's
It would
not
just
getting
have
put in a
different name,
Fallout
like
deck
second
and
round
reprinted.
Seize the Day on Vi. Like, that's the exact example you just came up with, but they already did that by just like reprinting the card with a different name when it explicit.
But now it's a different name. Now
It's
it's a
not,
different
though.
name. It's not just the same card. It's a different card. Hey, I'm just experimenting the
Like,
takeout
with
here.
Summoner's Rift
I'm
as
just
Command
saying.
Tower. Like, it's just the same thing.
Those are like that's a long time ago. You're talking the Riot one, the Arcane one, that's a long time ago. That's not the paradigm they work with now. They just are putting when they can, they have been trying to if you look at the land cycles, especially over some of the like releases, the Universes Beyond releases, they are looking for cards that they can put into sets with different art without having to change the name. Just a take. Like the temples they did it with and some of the Doctor Who stuff, they've really been doing it with the lands, where they find lands with generic names that they can reprint without having to reskin them, and they just give them new art. Now, maybe that I'm just saying, Branching Evolution's a nice generic name, man. That could have gone in Fallout. It could go in Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. I'm just thinking of all the places they can just reprint it in now. I think it's a great pick. It's just I'm just saying maybe that's the new thing we need to think about with cards now. Because when it comes to prices, you do have to consider what TV shows are on. That's a new thing.
They put Najila as a Warhammer 40k secret lair, like, and they just changed the name. Like, they've done that so many times of just like, oh, this is a legendary creature, so clearly they're not going to put Najila in it. They do. They just change the goddamn name of the card.
I hear you. I mean, the secret lair, I think, is, I guess maybe that's I'm looking at that different than it shows up in a Fallout collector booster, I guess. It's just the thing. It's just like a rare or whatever. I don't know. But I guess moving on now, the sets are going to be normal-ish sets, right? So
Everything's
that may
Godzilla treatment.
not really
Everything
even
can
be
get
as much
Godzilla
of a...
treatment. It doesn't matter what the name of the card is. It can get Godzilla'd.
Well, for sure. All right. Well, we got to think these things through, people, because like as somebody who writes about the cards, the movers and shakers every week, the weekly winners, however you want to put it, what TV shows are on is driving the prices of cards. So that's the world we live in, and you better believe that's going to be true with the Marvel stuff. I think that probably wraps it up for us. As a reminder, you can go to Coalesce Apparel and Design. Use that gift code Brainstorm Brewery. Get 5% off your order, no matter who you're ordering merchandise from. In that case, so we want you to use that gift code.
You can't buy it from Walmart and use our discount code.
I know. I meant like which content creators merch you're getting, but you can get anyone's.
People going up to like their local froyo and you try to use Brainstorm Brewery.
Hey, maybe not yet. Maybe one day. Froyo, sponsor us. We're here. we'll be here next week too. Thank you everybody for listening to Brainstorm Brewery. Thank you to our sponsors and of course
your frozen yogurt order in the YouTube comments. Let's see what kind of DJs we have here.
Send
for
me
the
money.
hashtag engagement.
How about that?
Patreon.com/BSB. Thank you everybody for
wait,
listening.
Wait, no.
We'll see you next
Also,
week.
if you're on Patreon, stop using Apple Pay or stop using Apple Store to pay for your Patreon.
Oh, let me just do that again then. Okay. Finally, we do want to make a quick announcement for our Patreon subscribers. I guess Patreon's making some changes. We really appreciate everyone who goes to patreon.com/. Finally, a note for our Patreon subscribers who went to patreon.com/BSB. You make this podcast possible. Unfortunately, Apple is going to make it a little bit harder on you. I think Apple Pay is getting removed as an option. So just as a reminder, we really appreciate your support. You got it. Put all of us in the after hours.
You had 3 strikes.
I
did it the right
I
time.
hope this is all in the episode.
I did it the right way the first time. Then you were like, calm down, DJ. I'm the professional.
Well, I just wanted it to do... I was just trying to, like, toss it. You got it. Go ahead.
Just as a heads up, it'd be really funny if I fucked it up now, though. So, like, the bar is really high. Just a heads up to all our Patreon subscribers. Apple is doing Apple things, and they are planning on adding a 30% fee to Patreon if you pay for your Patreon membership through Apple's app. So if you want to continue to support our Patreon, which we would love, we appreciate you, don't pay for your Patreon subscription through the Apple app, if that makes sense. You can use any other thing on your silly...
Navigate to patreon.com/BSB, please.
Tim Apple box that you have. But just don't use the Apple iStore to pay for your Patreon membership.
Yeah.
Anymore.
They're putting that monopoly to work. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for us here at Brainstorm Brewery. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.